Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here. What I want to do today is that I want to continue the conversation we were having about last week about the elementals and the new relationship we must establish between us and them. These elemental forces are extremely important in the balance and the economy of what Gaia is trying to create for us. The entire planet, all the ecosystem, and indeed all life forms and humanity would not even exist if it wasn't for them. In the mystical writing, you have earth, fire, water, air, which are represented on the elemental plane as gnome, undine, salamanders, and self. And these spirits or elemental devas, or deva would be a lower level of angel. There is a whole hierarchy of them that exists. And I'm going to go over it in some detail, and I'm going to expand even more on what I talked about last night. And the reason for this is that given all of the climate change events that are driven by elemental forces, such as fires, tsunamis, and your hurricane, which are a combination of water and air. Fires or also air and fire element, and earthquakes that are coming or connected with the climate change events that are going to occur between now and 2030. We need to be prepared as spiritual beings to be in better communication with these spirits. Case in point, before there's a technology that I teach, and I will teach it to this class as well, on how to connect to these energy systems, because everything is alive on Gaia. If you have a brook, if you have a tree, if you have a rock formation, a crystal, there's a life form that exists in it. And ancient people, primordial people, native people, First Nation people, they knew how to do this. They knew how to communicate. And there is tremendous respect in seeing animals, plants as brothers and sisters. And also understanding that when you communicate with them, you must treat them with respect, with love, and have a real dialogue, not a monologue where you tell them, this is what I want to do. Like I was sharing last week, that when I want to clip and I want to trim my plants, I talked to them first, and I said, I think today is a good day for us to have a haircut. So let them know that this is coming. And sometimes I get the impression that they are not interested in having a haircut today, and then I let it go. You will know if you listen carefully to them. There will be a yes or no. It's like a pendulum. There will be a yes or no. And since you are the pendulum, you don't need a pendulum in your hand, you will know. It's like if everything is solid one time, all of a sudden there's a give, there's a, like an exhale. When that exhale happens, that's a yes. You know that this is for you to proceed. And so if you can allow yourself, humble yourself and stop, get out of your own ego and your own hubris to think that you know everything and you can communicate with them, you will be able to begin to act in alignment with the ecosystem that you exist in. And these forces of nature will begin to tell you what's going on. And so before, and going back to Hillary, as Hillary was battling down on the coast of Mexico, we had a class, and I spontaneously asked the whole class to, I guided everybody into a group communication where we blended with the hurricane. And we learned some great things, including the fact that the hurricane was not even aware that there was all these people and damage in front of it. And it was also very much willing to do what it needed to do without causing too much human damage or property damage, because it served the purpose. If you think about what's happening now with the heating of the planet and the fact that temperatures are over 100 in so many regions in the Southwest for a long period of time, these vortices that are being created either by hurricane or, for that matter, by fire, by wildfire, are created because of a temperature differential between the surface of the Earth and the upper atmosphere. And this is Gaia's way of trying to cool a fever. It creates these vortices as a way to release heat, to rebalance everything. And so when a hurricane or a tornado, a twister, or for that matter, a wildfire that creates a fire tornado is created, this is the way that Gaia is trying to balance things out. So it's important for us to understand this and to actually also communicate with these forces, because there is a Deva, there's an elemental spirit that is actually driving that cleansing or that release. And if you can communicate with them, you can learn a lot how to protect your property. You can foresee damages at times, and you can begin to prepare for what you need to prepare. And sometimes they will listen to you. You don't know what's going to happen, because when you're having a dialogue, because these forces are sentient, you are not Gandalf with the magic wand in your hand, your staff, and you can direct and tell these forces of nature that or the other and block them and stop them from doing what it is that they're doing. You know, there are times where these forces are coming in, and you have to realize that they are actually sentient, and therefore when you're having a dialogue with them, in fact, they are not only sentient, they are much more powerful than you. They are bigger, they're much more powerful than you. Okay, and you have to treat them with kid's glove and with incredible respect. The Buddhist, the Rinpoches and the circle of the Dalai Lama calls them local gods. Okay, these forces of nature or local God. You have to know that they are much more powerful, much bigger than you, in terms of the evolutionary ladder and the spiritual hierarchy. They are on a higher level than you. And because of this, you have to humble yourself in your communication with them. And so we did this for Hillary, and we all gathered and did this group connection. Many of us understood that the hurricane was going to do what it was needed to do in the gentlest way possible. So Hillary diminished as it touched down in Mexico, I think, in the Baja Peninsula as a category 3, it diminished. It became a tropical storm. And it did what it needed to do. It cooled down California, it drenched, it brought water, it flooded some places as well, understandably, because this is what these storms were supposed to do. It cut power, it did all of that. But it did it in a way that diminished quite a bit. Now, what was interesting during the communication that I didn't realize, and this is the part where this communication are important, and I'm going to talk not only about the entire hierarchy, but I'm going to remind you how to do the communication again. What then happened is that I got an understanding I never had before, because I've done this group communication together with the spiritual family, extended spiritual family, many times. I have never had heard this. I heard the hurricane. Hillary told me that she's in communication with the other elements, and that they're all acting together. Whereas before, when we did Hurricane Irene, Hurricane Sandy, or other storms, I had the impression that they were independent from each other. And lo and behold, during the hurricane, there was a 5.2 earthquake. In other words, you went from water and air elemental into an earth elemental, awakening at the same time. This was in California. There's a 5 point, near Los Angeles, a 5.8 earthquake. So indeed, as I was told during the communication on Saturday, when did we do this? On Sunday, rather, Sunday early morning, that that indeed the various elements are talking to each other. It's a coordinated effort to help cool and rebalance the atmosphere of the planet. And so it's important for us, and God knows what other information that they have that they might want to share with us. I'm saying this because I wanna go back now over what is an elemental. And let's talk about the earth, for example, the earth realm, the earth kingdom, where Gaia is. Gaia is a version of the original Sophia. Okay, I'm going to start at the beginning. One version of creation from the Gnostic teachings, and it's different than there are other creation myths. And don't ask me which one is correct, because I think they are all correct simultaneously. According to one version, the Gnostic version, there existed in a place in the heart of God, in the heart of our own universe, called the Plenarium. And in that environment existed pairs of creative beings called eons. There was a pair called Sophia and Christos. And in that realm, as long as they're there, they're full with power, and they can manifest and create all kinds of things, male and female. Christos, Sophia is female, Christos is a masculine counterpart. Then Sophia and Christos created what they call anthropos, or anthropomorphical, the early version of man, a blueprint. And they release it into our solar system, into our universe. And as they released it, rather in our galaxy, not solar system, our galaxy, as they released it, it passed the threshold of the Plenarium. And Sophia was very maternal and attached to her creation. She followed it. And she bypassed and went beyond the Plenarium. But she went there without her consort. Christos was not with him. It's not that these pairs cannot move out of the Plenarium. They can, but they must move together. So as Sophia moved alone, accidentally, she began to fall. And as she was falling, she was losing power, and we're talking about the cosmic creative principle. And she began to lose all kinds of power, and as she was dropping, she released and she accidentally created a bunch of things that she was not anticipating. In the Gnostic, in the Gnostic Bible, they call these beings archon, or demons, that they were errors, accidental creation, including Lilith, a female precursor to all female entities. Then it got to a point where the Plenarium had gathered, the anthropos had gathered somewhere, because Sophia's purpose was still to get in touch with her creation that she was so proud of, which was anthropos. And she kept on going and going, and she got next to anthropos. And anthropos kind of like gathered around our solar system. And our solar system did not exist at the time. It was just body of gases, like cosmic dust and gases. And Sophia wanted to figure out a way to correct the mistake. She realized she accidentally did all of these things. It was unintentional. And she was trying to figure out a way to save this. So she tried by her own self to use the remainder of her power to ignite our sun. Our sun was just at the time gathered as a glob of a ball of hydrogen, of gases that was rotating but had not fired up or ignited into a sun. She was unsuccessful. But another pair of Eon, also from the Millennium, called Vesta, Helios and Vesta, realized the plight of Sophia, went into the mass that was to be the sun and ignited it. And they became the logos of our sun. And then Sophia removed herself, extracted herself out from the sun, then plunged into what would be the earth, which was still a toxic spew of gases, of methane and all kind of gases that were kind of like congealing together, not suitable for life form at the time. And Sophia blended herself completely with that and began to transform that environment into a suitable place for life form to grow. She diminished more and more of her power. She cooled down the planets. The volcanic ash, the methane, she released them, and she began to allow oxygen to be created and to grow, and she created. And from this point forward, she was known as Sophia, as Gaia. Okay? She also created and manifested the elemental that we know today, and I'm going to talk about. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that when I'm talking about Gaia, I want you to keep in mind Gaia is a lower vibration of Sophia. And Sophia originally is a higher, is the consort of Christos. Now, long view, and the reason why Sophia is on earth, and Sophia is enmeshed into everything, Gaia is enmeshed into everything. What I mean by that, when we are alive, and what animates me, you, is our soul, our spirit. That spirit energy comes from Christos. Christos is the Christ energy. When you embody and become the Christ, your physical body is made in part by Gaia/Sophia. And then Christos is the spirit energy, or the Christ, and when the two of them are equally balanced and merged together, then a cell in Sophia's body is redeemed, because now she's joined back with her consort, Christos. And now there is union, there is peace, and there is redemption. So we, entire humanity, all the species, all the various species that exist on Earth, need to become embodiment or receptors to receive Christos. When the Lucis Trust and the Madame Blavatsky's group were in their great invocation, said that Christ returned to Earth. May Christ return to Earth. They knew what they were talking about. Because by calling Christos, you're gonna spiritualize the earth. In Indian mythology, Gaia and Sophia are Shakti, or the earth, or the female receptor, and Shiva is the Christos. And when the two of them merge together, you have perfect balance. And I'm saying all of this because I want to give you a background for the conversation about the elementals. These forces, Christos and including Gaia, all operate by having proxy consciousness or angelic or celestial host hold their energy and be a messenger or holder to bring the energy down. In the earth, you have an earth Elohim, you have also an earth archangel, which is Archangel Metatron, and you have also master devas for each elemental spirit. They are master devas, they are sub devas, they are general devas. Okay? You have master devas, you have general devas, sub devas, and you have general devas. The master devas are 250 feet tall. The earth Elohim is Archangel Metatron. They call him the Lord of extended height. When I see him in dream, he's so tall that I'm the size of his foot. You cannot see the top of his head because he goes to the highest level, to the throne room of God. He's often referred to as the lesser Metatron or the sound of sandals, because often before you see him, you hear him walking. You hear his footstep. So, and I wanna explain this because I want you to understand very well why it's important for us to learn to understand and listen to these elemental forces. Because having had that understanding, when you go into the technology that I'm going to teach you, I'm going to remind you. Some of you are aware of this already. When I remind you how to do this, you're gonna know what you're dealing with. So to begin, in the world of manifestation, the physical world, we've already spoken about on Earth, you have man and all the animal and plant species, etc. That the elementals, the earth, fire, water, air elemental, often referred to as the lesser builders, are creating everything. So to explain this in a sense so that we can, so that everything will make sense to you, I'm going to use a construction analogy. If God is the client, the Elohims are the architect and the engineers. They create the blueprint. Everything is done on paper, created in books, in to try to figure out how they're going to put creation together. Which pieces, what size, what proportion, how they're going to fit it together. All of that is created in blueprint. In other words, in the world of absolute, it's called the world of emanation. It's just ideas, schemes, and idea of structures. Then it moves from there into what is called the world of formation. Once the blueprints are finished, then they are given to archangel. In this instance, and these archangels are like general contractors, if we're pursuing this construction analogy. And these archangels come in and they actually begin to, they coordinate the entire construction. The putting together, let's say it's a cup, or let's say it's a crystal. How they're going to put it? What's the molecular structure? What distance electrons and the nucleus is going to be for the next electrons? What geometry is it going to be? Is it an hexagon? Is it a polygon? Et cetera, et cetera. Is it going to be shiny, reflective, matted? What color is it going to be? So all of these things are things that the archangel has to read the plan, then that can supervise it, but that archangel then will initiate in the world, next world below him, the world of creation, angels. And these angels are like trade in construction industry. Like you would have carpenter who does carpentry, the plumber that does plumbing, the electrician that does electricity, the painter who does the sheetrock and the painting, each one of them different trades. So the angels are like specialists, and they come in and they do their part, but it must be supervised by the archangel, because if the plumber doesn't know what the carpenter is doing, you're never going to have a construction that's going to look right. Okay? Because the plumbing has to be done at the right place so that the sink will fit to the right place, or the toilet would fit in the bathroom and not end up in the kitchen, and so on and so forth. So the archangel will and the blueprint will inform where all these things are to be placed, and this is the way it's coordinated. And then in the world of manifestation, where the earth elemental we're talking about today exist, they themselves will begin. They are the daily workers, and they are the one that are going to put the screws on, or the nail onto the studs. They are the one that are going to be painting and sanding. They are the one that are going to be soldering and creating the plumbing connection, the electrical connection, because each one of them are different elemental. They do different things. I hope it's a simple analogy enough for you to make you understand how the hierarchy of being actually functions. So in this description, where I have the world of emanation, where ideas and concepts are created in the blueprint, the world of formation, where the archangels or the general contractors that reads the plan and begin to initiate and engage the world of creation, being the angels, into assembling the idea together. Then the world of Asaya, the subcontractors, then engage the Devas and the elementals to manifest everything. In this example, God is not even in it. God is even outside of it. Okay? So I want you to understand this, because in a way, so that we can be very clear when we explain this. So I'm going to go over Malkuth, or kingdom, and explain to you that the elemental, the size of the elemental, we have the archangel Xenophon, as I explained, which exists in the world of formation as a general contractor, and is extremely tall, the Lord of extended height, the sound of sandal, the lesser Metatron, that's another name for him, because he is connected to Metatron that exists in the first world. He is basically the archangel of the earth. Then beyond that, you have, as in the world, the angels that he commands, which are the earth angel, are called the cherubim. And the cherubim, there were 2 cherubim on the covenant of the ark. There are also cherubim that showed up at the eastern gate of Eden with a sword of fire in their hand, and there are cherubim that were in the throne room of God in Revelation of John, and also cherubim showed up at Ezekiel's chariot when the chariot came to take Ezekiel into the heaven. And the cherubim are beings that are very specifically described. They are beings that have an ox, a lion, an eagle, and a man, that represent 4 elements: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, with the quality of strength, patience, courage, and nobility, all needed to control the 4 elements. And the cherubims all are described in that way, in these books, because they sound like a horrible looking creature. They are not, in a lot of painting, a cherub looks like a little baby with wings. This is not what the Holy Book described them as. It describes them exactly as that. Beings that have an ox, lion, eagle, and a man head with with these quality, and more, and additionally, they have eyes all over their body, everywhere. They are seeing, they are watchers, and they're seeing everything. And it represents the four elemental that we were talking about before, the four elements, because the ox, the lion, the eagle, and the man are just symbolic representation of the four various signs of the zodiac that represent the four elements. In other words, water sign, earth sign, fire sign. That's what I mean by that. An air sign, and therefore they are watchers and they are protectors, and they are responsible for keeping everything in balance. They are trying to maintain equilibrium always. They are watching when something goes astray. They try to bring it back in alignment and create equilibrium. That's their purpose. That's their role. So if for example, if they are creating something, and I'm an architect, so I know this in construction, if something is getting created and it's done incorrectly, and the contractor sees this, let's say, for example, an installation for a kitchen or a bathroom is done incorrectly, he comes in, he's going to say, take it out, rebuild it. So that's what the cherubims are doing. They want to make sure that everything is maintained the same way. Who does the construction? Who does the actual drilling, the actual carpentry, the plastering, the painting? The lesser builders, the elementals themselves directly. In other words, those lesser builders are often referred to as the Devas. As I said, the master Deva commands. For example, if you have a species of animal or plant, let's say goats, there is a master Deva for the goat. And if you were trying to communicate something that you want the whole species to understand, you would actually try to communicate to the master Deva of the goats, or the master Deva of the sparrows, or the master Deva of, if it's a plant, gardenias, the master Deva of a storm, of a river, of a fish, or whatever it is that you are trying to communicate with. And that master Deva would be the local god. And if you understand this and you can do this, and it's not that you control them, it's that often you have conversation with them. Sometimes during the course of the conversation, they give you great advisement and they make you see things that you didn't see before because they're superior to you. And other times you bring information and the reason why a lot of time, and in this instance in Hillary storm, the storm did not really see the people of California and the damage it was about to do. It's because humanity is in fear. We are not in our heart. We are not in alignment with Gaia. We are disconnected to our own heart. And because of this, these forces who are themselves completely in their heart cannot see us. And when we enter these elemental, communicate with these elemental forces, and we begin to touch them, they begin now, through us, understand what they didn't see before. In this instance, there's a whole bunch of people on your path in this property. I know you must do what you must do, but can you do it in a way that causes less disruption? And they agreed. The storm agreed. It's not that we control anything. It was a simple conversation. In the world of emanation, which is the world that's higher than Xenophon, the God name is Adonai Malak. It's translated Lord King, Lord of the land and territory, God in matter. Any questions, any comments that you may have? Now I'm trying to see if there's anything that I didn't say about the elementals. Oh yes, although the master deva may be 250 feet, when you go to a general deva, they are smaller. They might be 200, and the general devas are even smaller. The general gnome self, undime Simon and fairies, they are much smaller. Like a normal fairy might be about maybe 10 inches tall. They are very small. And if you're really in the right receptive state with Gaia, where your heart is completely open and you're allowing yourself to listen and to communicate with animals, insects, and plants, and you let yourself listen to their sound correctly, then suddenly you will begin to also see the elementals. I've talked about this last week, that there are times when I'm in forest, all of a sudden the forest just stopped and everything stopped. And I have to be in my heart to actually, typically when I'm walking in those kind of environment, I'm in deep gratitude. I'm so open to the plants and the trees and the insect. I'm so grateful. And as I do this, all of a sudden everything stopped. And when it stopped, it's like all of a sudden a switch is turned and there's no sound. And when that happened, the elementals are there. It happened for a few seconds. It doesn't last long, but it's very dramatic because there was noise, all kind of noise, and all of a sudden, boom, everything stops. And then everything resumed again. So I can, and again, my gift is it's morphogenic listening. It's a gift of listening, and I listen with my entire being, with my entire soul. And when I listen like that, and I'm in such gratitude, it becomes easier for me to communicate with them. There are other times where, particularly with older trees that are 300 to 500 or even older trees, I was in New Zealand where there are trees that were 800 years old. I was fortunate to communicate with them, to lean on them. And what I do is that I don't hug the tree from the front. I lean my back and my spinal cord against it in my head. And I let my open heart embrace whatever the tree wants to tell me. And when you do this, you get a lot of information. Because I shared this with you in the last class. This woman was done all this research, scientifically proven, that trees communicate to each other. They actually pass carbon. An elder tree whose root system extend the entire forest, that's 300 to 500 to 1,000 or 800 years old, their root system extend to all the younger trees. They communicate all kinds of information. For example, how to survive and through carbon passing, how to resist and survive wildfires, how to survive a drought, how to survive an insect infestation, like beetles. All kinds of things are passed. Now, the other thing as well, in terms of forestry management, or even for that matter, storms, when an elder tree falls down, instead of cutting the tree immediately out of the forest and turning it into firewood or taking the wood to do other things with, you need to leave the tree out for a number of months, if not even a year, to let all the rest of the communication that the tree has, the legacy, the knowledge, to be transmitted to the other trees. Now, that communication, that transmission, it's basically carbon passing to the root system and the mushroom and the mycelium system that around the root system, and it passes from one tree into another, and the other tree return it back with additional information, and they're conversing back and forth. It's like a neuron. It's like a neuron net where the communication goes to the bottom of your feet, and impulses return back to your brain. Now, I have seen and communicated with the fairy realm as well, which is again elemental spirits. The elves as well, they are still elemental spirits. They are different sizes. The queen of the fairies are usually about 3 feet tall. They are like little, as tall as a small child. And whereas the regular fairies are much smaller. And again, you have to understand these forces are not, what's the best way to put it? They are not obligated to be nice to you. And in fact, a lot of time they're highly suspicious when human beings are trying to communicate with them for the first time. Sometimes you have to communicate with them multiple times before they actually realize that you're not trying to hurt them. Moreover, if you have a secret agenda, because these beings exist in their heart, and the only way for you to communicate with them is that you have to open your heart to them. And they will know if you're hiding something, if you're deceitful, if you're cloaking something. They will know. They will know immediately. And they will end the communication, and not only that, but they can attack. They can cause damage. They can hurt. I remember one of my students upstate who callously was doing something, and she got bitten by a black widow. The queen of the fairy up there sent a black widow to she finally made peace with the queen of the fairy, but she was afraid of that area. She would not go there. The black widow spider came and bit her, and you know that black widow could kill you. It's highly poisonous. And the black widow, the queen of the fairy said, I send the black widow. Next time I'm gonna send a snake. You better. She was so scared. It was not malevolence. It's that like she didn't feel her heart was pure, was aligned to at the time to or she a lot of time. Okay, it's a hierarchy. So diplomacy and how you approach them become extremely important. You cannot come to them any which way and try to move into their territory without asking for consent. You need to ask for permission and for consent. And if you move in thinking that, it's just a rock, it's just a tree, I'm going to unroot it, I'm going to do, the moment you start doing this, you're going to get hurt. All of a sudden, one branch will fall on your head. All kinds of things will begin to happen to you. Or you get bitten, or some of that stuff like that happen. So we have to treat them. They are regal. They are loyal in their own way. You have to treat them with respect. I beseech you. So when I'm communicating, when we're communicating with the hurricane, what we did first, you have to make sure that initially, and particularly because they're going to read your heart, that you yourself are neutral to everything. So before we get started, and the way you communicate with them is that you start first by doing a torsion field around yourself, so that you can achieve a certain level of neutrality. Once you have done this, to whatever system or deva you're trying to communicate with, whether it be a hurricane, a wildfire, an earthquake, a twister, a tornado, you need to immediately begin to ask to that system, if me, my family, or my ancestors had hurt you, your family, or your ancestors, since the beginning of creation until now, by thoughts, by deeds, by words, by actions, and by inactions, please forgive me. I love you unconditionally, and I let go. And then that would be the entrance into the forgiveness. And then after that, I would repeat, please forgive me, I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me, and thinking of the system. Sometimes it's a plant, it's a tree, it's a species of animal. Please forgive me, I love you, and I let go. Please, or rock formation, a cave, waterfall. Please forgive me, I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. And as you do this over and over again, initially it's going to feel solid as a wall when you're trying to communicate with it, solid as a wall. And at some point, you're going to feel like an exhale. And when you have the exhale, you don't need to say it anymore. You've made contact. Your heart and that energy system are one. You've made contact. And at that point, if it's a tree, if it's a plant, if it's an animal, if it's an energy, if it's a tornado or vortex at that point, then you energetically in your head project yourself into the middle of the storm, the middle of the tornado, the middle of the hurricane, the middle of the fire. And you energetically go inside of it because you have the permission. And at that point, you start communicating because you're doing this for a reason. At that point, you start communicating. Beloved elder brother, beloved salamander brother, beloved Devas, they like protocol. You bow down to them and you say, I know you're doing what you're doing for a higher purpose. I may not understand all of the details, but are you aware X, Y, Z, your plan? And then you wait for an answer. And you're going to get an answer, trust me. And if you have to reply, you reply. And you go back and forth until the conversation ends. At which point you withdraw yourself from that system. And then you make, particularly if it's a storm or if it is about to happen, from the communication, you make the appropriate preparation that are needed. If you need to get out of the way, get out of the way. If the energy system tells you you're okay, don't move or do this, do exactly what you're being told. Because sometimes I see it, we all see it visually, like a flash of something. It's not complicated, but it's the kind of thing you have to know there to go there. You have to do it once to know how to do it. Because even now, me explaining it to you will not make too much sense to you until you do it. And as you do it, suddenly you are now in a different place. The communication is open, you have your answer, and then you're renewed, and you know exactly how to prepare. You get yourself ready. We know when Irene was coming that the storm was not gonna hit New York directly. And this is exactly what happened. That day it was incredible. The eye of the storm was supposed to be right for New York, and it arrived. but there was nothing, the preparation, everything was closed, no car, no subway, the whole city was shut down. Plywood board in every storefront, and the energy in New York was the negative ion. I can't describe it. It's like a giant vacuum that sucked all of the darkness out from New York. I could have sat on 14th Street and 7th Avenue and do a meditation. It's like I was on top of a in the middle of a forest somewhere. It was electric. It was so peaceful, so charged with energy that most of us that were in town, because a lot of people had fled, those of us were in town, and it's something that was spontaneous. All of a sudden, after a certain time, and we were indoor for a while, after a certain time, all of us began to walk toward the waterfront. Of all places, a hurricane is coming. We're all these family with their kids in strollers, dog, they're walking toward the waterfront as if we were being called. And we were all in the waterfront, almost like a spontaneous, like small little, it wasn't exactly a party, but it was there was veneration. Like we were waiting for something magical to happen. It was powerful. It was a gigantic cleansing. Now, on the other hand, when Sandy was coming, this is what I'm saying. Each one of them have their personality. Sandy was very clear. We tried to communicate with that Deva 3 times. It was on the 4th time that we found the give in. We were able to penetrate. 3 times we couldn't get in. It was solid. And then we saw the flood everywhere. There was water everywhere. There's flood. And sure enough, everything in New York was the subway. It was flooded. The tunnels, everything was flooded. And I have friends that are on 9th Avenue. The second neighborhood in that area. It's near the meatpacking district, where it's very ritzy, very rich, very like all the Tesla, Gucci, all it's a very expensive neighborhood. All of that was flooded, completely flooded. I have a client that used to live in that area. She knew, again, intuitively, because she connected. She knew the storm was going to flood her. He had a duplex in a brownstone, and she actually lifted all of her stuff in the lower floor up, and then she booked herself into a hotel. She went into a hotel because she sensed that something was going to happen away from that area. And then soon after that, after she did the repair, she sold that unit. Any questions, any comments that you may have? I know I cover quite a bit because I started with the myth of creation from Sophia, Christos and Sophia, and the Gnostic version of creation. Then I talked about the hierarchy of being, particularly as it relates to the earth and connection to Gaia, Shakti, Shiva, and went into the elemental themselves and the role that they play. But I wanna emphasize again the characteristic that allows someone to communicate and control Communicate for sure. You don't really control the element, you communicate with them. You need strength, patience, courage, and nobility. Strength, because it's a very unusual thing. You have to be very resilient to be able to let your consciousness connect with something that big. Patience, because these forces typically don't want to talk to you. And you have to spend a lot of time asking for permission, beseeching, requesting an audience before anybody or these forces can allow you in. Courage, because it's one thing to go into a twister, a tornado, or a hurricane. The elemental that is the most difficult to communicate with are the fire elementals. It requires a tremendous amount of courage and balls to actually communicate with the self. Not the self, the salamanders, rather. The salamanders, the spirit or the fire elemental that controls fires. And nobility, of course, it's because these beings like protocol, they like because you're a different species, they respect you, they want the same respect. they want the same courtesy. They want to be treated, they don't want you to take from them. They want you to ask for permission. And they will only allow you to take, and they will gladly give to you, but only if you ask for permission. Those characteristics are essential: strength, patience, courage, and nobility. Because it takes somebody of a noble character to be able to have that kind of courtesy, that kind of understanding that everything is alive. And if you can do this, and your heart is open, because it's a heart-to-heart communication, and they determine, or they see in you that there is no deceit, then they will give you everything. They will give you everything. And some miraculous thing will begin to happen for you. And it's not really a miracle, it's the functioning of a natural law, because you're following natural principle and natural law. Questions, comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break, bathroom time, water time, and then we'll do a closing meditation. 5 minutes. Before I get started with the meditation, I want to remind you that next week is Labor Day weekend. We will not meet on Sunday. Okay. Enjoy the festivities. Enjoy your family, your friends, whatever it is that you're going to be doing for the weekend, your vacation. But we will not meet on Sunday. The other thing as well, on the 5th, which is the following Labor Day, Labor Day will be on Monday the 4th. On the 5th, I will be teaching a new series of classes. I sent an email out to all of you called the Spiritual Hierarchy, Role, Function, and Purpose. And the class will be 13 weeks in sequence, and it will be about all between us and God, there exists an entire hierarchy of being, because God is the unmoved mover. And we are at the bottom of the total pole. So with the world, God communicate with us is to intermediary or hierarchy of celestial being that act as proxy for God to affect, heal, and repair the world. So we will do a deep dive into all of the hierarchy of being, not just the Elohims, the angels, but the ascended masters, all of the help. And I will journey each one of you. We're going to use the 12 rays of God as a vehicle to allow us to connect with the 12 creative impulse that kind of like help manifest the 12 light impulse that try to manifest on earth. And we will journey into the inner ashram of each of these rays. I look forward to be teaching that class for you. Let's start on September 5th. All right, let us begin. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Let your mind and your heart blend with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your heart and your awareness, intelligence become one. Become aware of the world as it emanates now from your upper chest. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Take deep inhalation and deep exhalation. If me, my family, and my ancestors had hurt you, your family, or your ancestors, since the beginning of creation until now, by thoughts, by deeds, by words, by actions, by inactions. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go.
realize that you can perceive 360 degrees. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. We now beseech a communication, audience, or dialogue with the water master Devas, please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. We also seek an audience, dialogue, and beseech an exchange with fire elementals, the Master Deva. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Beloved Master Devas, we ask that your kind heart, loving spirit, and your guidance as shepherd for Gaia allow us the honor and the opportunity to have a moment of your time for communication. We now call forth the air elemental, Master Deva. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. We ask the earth elemental, Master Deva, for a moment of your time, for a brief communication and audience. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. Listen. Listen. As if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let all of the presence of these four elemental devas, the water, the fire, the air, and the earth that exists in your physical vessel, communicate to you the secrets, the insight, the wisdom, and the power that they know. By your grace, your blessings, and your radiation of benevolence, kindness, your magnanimity, your charity, your goodness. Teach us how to be better shepherd. As we listened, as if all the cells in your bodies had ears, as we listen with our entire soul and consciousness, as we listen may the grace the love, the purpose, of your co-creative partnership with Gaia be communicated to us. tell us the manner in which we can better support your purpose, your mission, and ultimately bioregenesis, the return of all bioform into light. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Pierre, I want to thank you for the class and also for the prayers tonight. And I realize that all the things that have been said are true because there are sentient energies connected to everything, the storms, the elements, all of these things. And I remember the energies that accompanied the storms that you spoke of. And I just know of my own experience with Hurricane Ida and speaking to the rain and asking it to stop and to divert the water. So I was thinking as you were, saying your prayer, that in times like this we need to be on the same page, and it would be helpful for me. And I'm just going to ask for me. Maybe other people don't need it, but I would like to have like a printed page, which, gives my prayer invocation, the calling of doing the Ho'oponopono, because, if we want to achieve a specific result, if we're working together, we need to be focusing and saying the exact same thing to bring about that result. So I'm just asking for myself if you would be so kind as to maybe print something for the for us and those that we may make that same invocation.
So, great idea, Celia, except the invocation that I usually do or all channel. Okay, like the invocation I did today, I would have to go for the recording and rewrite it. Because I don't
Okay, then
okay. So
you can do that for me.
I can do that, but
Understand something. Every time I do this, every storm or energy system that I approach, there are some basic steps that are the same. The forgiveness prayer.
Well, that's what I'm asking for, the basic steps.
I can do the
Because
basic.
I know that each time it's going to be a little bit different, but to because I remember sitting there on the side of the bed that evening when I saw what was happening with the Hurricane Ida and the torrential rain that was coming, and I didn't know where to begin in my thoughts. And so this is the reason why I asked that, not so that you take it away from spirit, but to have a place to begin.
Yes, that I can do, and that I can do. And as a matter of fact, that's one of the things I will be teaching in that series that I'm going to be teaching coming in September 5th. I'll be teaching how to do this. And more importantly, because of all these things, and this is the reason why I'm teaching, I'm reviving this now. We did this years ago, over 10 years ago. And I'm reviving it now because these elemental energies are awake and they are highly active. And we need to be on guard. And we, as you said, we have to walk together in lockstep. And so next time I do a communication with any of the storm, I will invite everybody in the group to join us. Not just us that are constantly in class. I'll send it to the entire list. If I have enough time to say, there's a special class communication, we're going to try to communicate with whatever. If you want to join in on the Zoom. I think we should do it more and more of us together because the energy is so big and so unusual that that old proverb back home that says you have to know there to go there. You have to do it a few times for you to be familiar so that you're not lost when it's happening in real time.
Right, and repetition is key. And repetition is key. So,
That's a great idea, Celine. Yes.
To repeat, it's repetitive is what you say, and then the brain fires the same way each time, bringing forth that result. So I thank you for this. It's very, very powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. I want to thank all of you that are listening to us on Patreon. Thank you for your support. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, give us a like to increase the algorithm, and ask us any question that you need, any ideas in the comments. I look forward to talking to you in 2 weeks. Next week, we're off because of Labor Day weekend. In 2 weeks. Sending you my deepest love. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.